This is the Ready, Set Podcast. And here's your host, me, Joe Persinger.
Hey, how was your week, you fucks? We are loaded today and packed. I'm going to be honest, this is probably one of the best podcasts I've put out in the last 26 episodes. I can't wait to get to it, but let's get to something really quick. I've got a few updates for us all. You can now find the podcast on CastBox, Podcast Addict, and Google Podcast. That's right, we've gone to the dark side. I'm still waiting to hear back from iHeartRadio, but we should be getting the okay from them really soon. Okay, enough of that. Let's get to it. This is your one-stop shop current events and politics podcast. If society's a joke, then we're just here for the first set. Are you
Ready, Set, Podcast!
It was the hottest thing to hit the market. Spicier than a Latina who catches you cheating with her abuela. Crisper than the air Jeffrey Epstein's last breath took in a musty federal prison cell. It was a viral sensation that took the nation by storm, like a tornado running through the Midwest while you force your wife to cut the grass while you sit back, drink your Uncle Joe's lemonade, and point out that sliver of grass your wife missed while rounding the corner. The memes, the sniping, the hoarding. I even had one of my friends handing these things out in a Miami street corner like Democrats peddling this impeachment crap. That's right, folks. The Popeyes chicken sandwich is coming back this Sunday, November 3rd. And what a baller move, might I add. I mean, if you're Chick-fil-A, not only are your balls in a vice, but you've been motherfucking checkmated. As you know, the Christian Chicken Sandwich Shack is closed on Sundays, giving Popeyes a leg up in sales that day. I mean, that's a power move by Popeyes. No. It's more than that. It's a power baller move, like Cannonball's baller move. Of course, I'll be making my way through the United States on my long journey to Hawaii that day. More on that a little later. So I'm hoping there's a Popeyes in the Dallas terminal. I've already checked. There's one in Honolulu, so if I can get off the ship next Saturday, not a boat, a ship, I'm going to stuff my face and attempt to hawk some of these off, at a surcharge, of course, to my shipmates. Or I'm just going to eat the motherfuckers. All right, I'm done with this. So Halloween just passed us by here. It's a calendar's way of letting people up north say, or it's a calendar's way of saying, you get what I'm trying to do. Basically, the calendar's saying, hey, it's about to get cold, bitch. Buckle up, wear a costume, and eat some fucking candy. Well, usually that is. I mean, this year, it's snowing in the Midwest, and it was well over 90 degrees down here in the South, and even hotter here in Central Florida. But I digress. What I love about Halloween is the scary motifs, girls in skimpy clothing. I mean, who doesn't like that, other than the girls? The pumpkins on everyone's doorsteps, the fake spider webs, the mummies wearing turbines dressed as terrorists. Oh, well, that's probably only in my neighborhood.
And that's Ready Set Podcast on Twitter, in care of Joe Persinger at 420 Chicago Avenue.
But it's really the overall decorations that I love. No matter where you go, every house, business, and homeless guy is decorated with a Halloween motif. And then you have this gentleman from North Andover, Massachusetts. Eric has no cock. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. I read that wrong. Pocock? Eric Pocock? What kind of fucking name is that? Anyway, on October 22nd, this leftist virtue-signaling soy boy walked into a McDonald's in North Andover, Massachusetts, a.k.a. Elizabeth Warren country, and found a decoration on the wall depicting a spooky-looking silhouette. That's very important. A silhouette of a tree flanked by a bunch of bats and jack-o'-lanterns and a ghost hanging from a tree. Now, why is a silhouette so important? Because a silhouette usually depicts something in the color black. Now, you've seen, these ghosts hanging from a tree at your neighbor's house. They're floating in the breeze, hanging from a branch with that thing people use to tie stuff. What the hell is it called? What do they call that material that allows you to hang stuff from? A lanyard? No, that's not it. A guitar string? No, that's not it either. Oh yeah, a rope. But this tubby soy boy McFuckstick walks into McDonald's and doesn't see a Halloween decoration. He doesn't see a silhouette. Something easily that is being depicted as a silhouette. He sees an opportunity to make a large corporation bend to his will and do what all these McFuckstick leftists want. Compliance.
Compliance. Compliance. Compliance. Compliance. Compliance. Compliance. Compliance.
Now, I don't know if this is fake news, NBC, but the article goes on to say, the image wasn't something he soon forgot. Oh, give me a fucking break. Of course, the franchise owner caved like a girl on a date break drug in Bill Cosby's living room. He issued a public apology after getting rid of the decorations and blabbed about something, quote, creating an environment that is welcoming and inclusive to all our guests and employees, unquote. Congratulations. You just awarded Tubby Soy Boy McFuckstick his first scalp and compliance badge he can wear on his shoulder, bragging to his friends and feminist mating targets that not only did he virtue signal to a large corporation, but he got them to bend to his will, comply, and he shall now be saluted like the king soy boy he is. It was a decoration, a silhouette. Grow up, you leftist fuck, and eat your fries, Tubby. Turn that down a smidge. All right, we're here. So, we have some bad news, folks. John Witherspoon, Friday and Detroit-born actor, passed away October 30th at the age of 77. Last time I saw this man in a public forum was earlier this year on a Joe Rogan podcast with his son JD. No word yet on what the cause of death was. Hopefully natural causes. His family is in shock and has, quote, asked for a minute. We'll miss you, Johnny, and this is how I remember the man by. Let's see if we can play this. Here we go.
Tastes so good, make you want to slap your mama. Don't it, Willie?
Yeah, boy. Hey, mama.
What the hell you want with?
Classic stuff. Classic stuff. All right. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. Uncle Joe's Lemonade. Hand-picked lemons from the organic brick-and-mortar corporate giants. It's hand-squeezed like Robert Kraft in a Miami area massage parlor. A drink so refreshing it quenches your thirst faster than a virgin in a whorehouse after overdosing on Viagra. Sweet like the girl next door you tried to sleep with, and tart like the girl who took your virginity in an embassy suite hotel while your friends drink the night away in the other room. We use the freshest local ingredients and apply an old family recipe that was stolen from the Egyptian tombs during the Victorian Raids of the 19th century. Ethics? What ethics? We're making lemonade, bitch. Uncle Joe's Lemonade. It's sweet. And now, back to our show. Everyone has that moment of clarity when they realize they've been bamboozled. For me, in the political sense, it all started years ago when I was looking at statistics of Americans moving to the EU, that's European Union, for jobs. This is roughly 2012-ish when the American economy was in the crapper. The economy was barely growing at a snail's pace of 1-point-something%, so it piqued my interest to know how many low-skilled workers were fleeing to other economies for relief from these disastrous Obama policies that had been implemented since his first term in 2008. And what would you know? The EU, like most other foreign nations, won't accept low-skilled workers into their economies for fear of creating a bottoming out effect of wages toward the bottom of their economic ladder. Weird, I thought. But in all fairness, I was more concerned with Jay Cutler not throwing 4 interceptions in one game. More on the Bears and their fucking ineptitude later. So I wasn't really concerned with why these other nations were freezing out low-skilled American workers while we accept everyone else. Their mom, their weird fucking uncle, the brother, and that creepy grandpa uncle who is probably molesting your daughter or son. Over the next 4 years, I used to hear Colin Cowherd, it doesn't get any more lefty liberal than that guy, saying the media does in fact lean left. I didn't believe him. Then, there was who at the time, my brother Steve-O, constantly telling me that the media does in fact lean left. It kind of felt like the guy was wearing some tinfoil on his head, but that's a whole nother thing. I wasn't buying it. What was I buying? The People's Daily Show hosted by Jon Stewart. Oh, sorry, I said that wrong. I meant The Daily Show. And then it happened. Donald Trump comes down the escalator. Most people know what happened next. He riffs a 47-minute speech that breaks down numerous subjects that was plaguing our country. ISIS, bad trade deals, mainly with China, a horrendous nuclear agreement with Iran that was brokered by the Obama administration. I watched the whole thing from beginning to end. It was a great speech. I'd even say one of the most iconic speeches since the Gettysburg Address. Okay, maybe that's a smidge of an overstatement. I'm just trying to make you liberals squirm a bit. So there I am thinking, okay, well, I'd really like to see what the mainstream media has to say about this. And do you want to take a guess what they focused on?
It's true. And these are the best and the finest. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
Out of everything the future President of the United States discusses in that 47-minute speech, off-the-cuff speech, might I add, they zoom in and conflate and purposely misrepresent what he was saying in those opening 3 minutes. And they did it over and over and over. And I was dumbstruck. All I kept thinking is, were they watching the same speech I was? It was like time stopped. Everything my brain had been absorbing about the media was now being challenged. I used to think, why would the media lie to me? They don't have an agenda outside of servicing truth and justice. Democracy dies in the dark. Why would these stories institutions take their credibility and throw it out the window, knowing that they can never get it back if they decide to take the activist route? When I think back to that June afternoon in the summer of 2015, I'm sitting on the couch reading a memoir by Suki Kim about the bellicose rhetoric and nature of the hermit kingdom called North Korea. While watching them fire off ballistic missiles, while the 44th president claims we're going to have strategic patience. A thought process that takes place in my head that challenges everything that I have thought to be true for my 25 plus years as an American who had been consuming all forms of media up to that point. Now, I can't take you into the minefield through my own words and thought process. We'd be here forever. Ask Ken. He knows. I'll just play this audio clip here to put a physical representation of what my thought process was at that very moment.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
And then the campaign season kicks into high gear, and I start hearing from the progressive wing of the leftist Democrat Party that straight white males are the enemy. I kind of do that thing where you put both your forearms up in the air, bent at the elbows, kind of tucked into your side, with your palms facing out, and kindly say to myself, well, I guess the Democrats don't want my vote anymore. And I think we know what happens from there.
This means that Donald Trump will be the 45th President of the United States.
That, folks, would be my red pill moment. So a 5-year-old girl receives 36 stitches after a dog ripped her face off, her mother claims. 36 stitches. Go fucking fuck yourself and talk to me when it's over 150 stitches. Oh, might I add that the qualifier isn't even enough to cross the bar? A few days after your annoying kid gets his or her stitches, text me when the stitching comes undone and the artery that runs underneath the upper lip is torn open, shooting blood across the room while your mom yells at you for locking your sister in the closet. These fucking red coat loyalists. So fucking soft. Alright. So, a St. Cloud teacher was arrested after a brawl took place in his classroom for child abuse. This is why teachers should just let these animals fight and back away. It's not worth it. Here you have a teacher attempting to protect another student from a hothead maniac. A male student moved a chair as a female student was about to sit down. As the teacher gets involved, the female sucker punched the other male student. And as the teacher is trying to keep control in his classroom, what do? Did the teacher take this a bit too far? I mean, maybe. But if this female teenager is sucker punching dudes in class, maybe she should, Maybe she should have a better attitude in life, really. If she did that in front of a police officer, the result would be the same, possibly worse, or even being tased. Now here's a teacher who inserted himself into the problem, reacted to someone being overtly violent, and now he's posting bail and being charged with child abuse. When you see these brawls break out in a city gang-infested schools and watch the teachers get out of Dodge, it looks cowardly. But now you know why. One more thing. St. Cloud, Florida might not be the Chicago public school system, or even that sad sack of a public school system known as like New York or Los Angeles area, but the St. Cloud is a sea of trailers flanked by a sea of low-income housing in an area known as BVL. I think that's what they call it. Anyway, these aren't your future outstanding citizens, and I'm in the camp where if these kids want to act like fucking wild animals and ruin a guy's career, maybe they should be roughed up a bit. Or arm teachers with tasers. Kick the kids out of school and let them move to LA and be fucking homeless. You think some moron kid is going to be so impulsive if they know there's a chance they're going to get tased? I didn't think so. So the Cubs mutually parted ways with their former manager, Joe Maddon. In some of the recent press releases, I've seen he has mentioned that the new Angels manager would like to face off against his former Cubs team in the World Series. And I think in the last few days, I've seen reports that he has said to the leftist California sports media that he wanted out of the Cubs organization just as much as the fans and the organization and upper management wanted him out. Oh, fuck you, you fucking hippie. You know if the Cubs offered you another contract, you would have jumped at the opportunity to take it. The Northsiders started their search for their new skipper a few weeks ago. I know Joe Girardi was on the list. The bench coach from Houston, I forgot his name, and my personal favorite, David Rossi Ross. Now that's who I was holding out for. But my track record of Chicago sports wants versus what I get have been two different things. See Mitch Trubisky for a reference there. Now, my second choice for the team's new skipper would have been Joe Girardi, but the gut was telling me that this isn't going to be a Theo Epstein hire. Sure, I do have the benefit of hindsight to promulgate that hypothesis, but I don't see Girardi and this team working out. I mean, that would be like Bernie making Warren his VP. That would be like Joe Biden being honest. That would be like Hillary locking herself up. It's oil and water, or Chicagoans bathing in ketchup while eating hot dogs out of a soap dispenser. I like this David Ross hire. Rossi is what we're going to call him. But that's only the beginning. Sure, it starts with upper management with Theo, Jed, and the scouting department. But this team, first and foremost, and then the manager, but this team, first and foremost, needs a bullpen, especially on the back end. Without that 7th inning guy, the 8th inning guy, or a closer, this team is a dead man walking. They will find no success in the regular season, and see last year's team, and minimal success in the postseason. They look like they're going to need an ace, as John Lester is now maybe a number 3 at best in his career. Garrett Cole, that could be a free agent signing, but that's a Scott Boras client, so I wouldn't hold out on that. Knowing Theo, he's probably going to try and be cute and snag up maybe someone like Steven Strasburg, but alas, Steven Strasburg is a Scott Boras client as well. So who the fuck knows how this is going to play out? That Darvish signing was a little too cute for my taste a few years ago, but he started looking meh, which is an upgrade compared to where he was earlier on in this season and last year's season. But Rossi, even before this roster is slapped together, has a lot on his plate. When he played for that World Series team 3 years ago, which they won 3 years ago to today, he was one of the guys in the locker room who held his teammates accountable. It's clear the Cubs teams were missing that in the following years after old man Rossi left because God knows Joe Madden wasn't doing it. Look, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I did like this hire, but it's like the Darvish signing. It's cute. It could be the most genius move out there, or it could blow up like this impeachment scam that's going on in Washington, D.C. right now. Either way, we're going to have to wait to find out. And if it does blow up, I'll just order a Mai Tai in between paddleboard sessions while hanging out on Waikiki Beach. Okay. I think that's all I got to say about the Cubs there. We're going to continue the theme from last week. How could we not? Let's shit on the Bears. It's time for the staff report.
In my hand, I hold the staff.
The Bears. The bad news Bears, that is. A 2-5 Chargers team hobbles into Soldier Field and was unimpressive at best. The Chargers looked as bad as their record suggests. This isn't a game the Chargers won. This is the game the Bears lost. And on the surface, yeah, you could say the missed field goal by Eddie Hashmark Pinheiro cost the Bears a W. Not a dub. In fact, I'm getting sick of this club dub crap that is going on in the locker room after every time the Bears win. Hey, you fucks, you won the division last year. Last year, once for the first time in almost a decade, with a stout defense. Cut the shit and act like you've been there before. And close that stupid fucking club dub shit down. Anyway, this loss doesn't hinge on Eddie Hashmark. How many red zone appearances did the Bears offense have last week that ended in a field goal? Too many. And had they have executed every time in the red zone, you're not relying on Eddie Hashmark. And then to pile onto that, there was one drive the Bears' lackluster offense went 3 and out on, was gifted almost 2 new sets of downs from Chargers' sloppy defense, giving up penalties, and they still struggled to punch the rock in. This loss doesn't hinge on Eddie Hashmark botching the field goal. This loss doesn't hinge on the fact that Nagy clearly doesn't trust his play calling and the execution of an offense that looks like Hillary Clinton is making the final decisions. This loss hinges on an offense that can't execute in the red zone and walk away with a touchdown. This loss hinges on a head coach who went from being the coach of the year to a guy that looks like a quarterback coach who has been foisted in the position that he doesn't even understand. It's mind-boggling. How do you have one of the most dynamic offenses one year and then take that same offense and play calling and look like you're lost in the woods? This was supposed to be the year Trubisky makes the jump. Have any of you even seen Jimmy Garoppolo, is doing in San Francisco this year? That last Thursday game was pretty good. That guy's making the jump. Maybe someone should tell Jimbo. Also, he needed not flirt with that old hag Aaron Andrews. If he wants to see her naked, those pics are available on the internet thanks to some peeping Tom from 10 years ago. But Jimbo G is taking that step that we all thought Trubisky was on the way to taking. But it's not happening. He can't execute. Trubisky, that is. He makes dumb Cutler-esque throws. Then they're always getting intercepted. Fumbles the ball in crucial moments in the game, and his inaccuracy doesn't pass the eye test, nor does it pass the smell test. Something stinks here, folks, that I can tell you. To give up a game like that to a 2-5 Chargers team is a defining losing moment for this horrendous offense that is wasting a top 3 NFL defense and one of the greatest linebackers in his prime. If we weren't paying Khalil Mack, we all know he would get the fuck out of town. But money talks, or in this case, keeps him quiet and happy. And now the Bears find themselves stuck to a weak-minded quarterback because Ryan Pace has staked his reputation on Trubisky. Thanks, Steve, for that, by the way. Bears fans are now prisoners of Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy's egos. They're going to stick with Mitch. They know they can't go to the Bank Daniels. That deposit slip won't be accepted. They have robbed the Bears fans of the defense an opportunity to compete in one of the toughest divisions in the NFL. They have no interest or dividends to bring in another QB. They've mortgaged that all away in order to bring this bust of a quarterback, passing up on a playmaker and a future MVP. But Joe, we can go and get a quarterback in the offseason. How? You can't draft one, not in the first round. And if you can't draft a quarterback at number 2 in the number 2 overall spot, now all of a sudden I'm supposed to have faith that Ryan Pace can find a quarterback in the latter rounds of the draft? If that's the case, why did you trade the future for this fuck? You should have used that draft strategy 2 fucking years ago. Folks, I've got some bad news. The Bears have entered a zone that I, as an NFL and Chicago Bears fan, like to call quarterback purgatory. Should I run down the list of failed quarterbacks again? Klaus is shaking his head no. Well, we're going to add Trubisky to that list.
Yogi Berra, Lou Piniella, Bucky Dent, Billy Martin, Dallas Green, Dick Hauser, Bill Verdon,
Billy Martin,
Stump Merrill, Billy Martin, Bob Lemon, Billy Martin, Gene Michael, Buck Scholes. George, you didn't hear that from me.
I think we got it.
George?
So that was kind of what I was trying to do last week with that whole Bears list. It was kind of a homage to that. Let's see, where are we here? That's right. We've been blacklisted. We're in quarterback purgatory, and we've been blacklisted.
You got me blacklisted at Hop Sings?
And, why didn't anyone tell me about this, Klaus? Where's Darren?
Darren's going away for a long, long time.
Maybe Ryan Pace should do the same. Honestly, if the Bears don't right the ship, this whole thing is going to end the same way Comerica Industries ended. With a bladder of oil landing on someone going, "Hello!" And that's the staff report.
We're trying to get a feel for how people spend their day.
The staff reports.
Okay, it's no secret to anyone listening to this that the most northern part of the Southern Pacific is on my horizon. I'm flying out to Hawaii for 6 months tomorrow, and I'll be in a different port 5 days out of each week. I'm not exactly sure what that's going to mean for the podcast on a weekly basis. I'm hoping I will find the time and space to write and record future podcasts, but I promise this isn't the end of the run. I can't see the future, but I would like to believe that I will have enough time to record a podcast on the beach. Those waves you hear right now might be a background sound effect, but in the future episodes, they'll be the real thing. Even if it's only a limited podcast, I'll have my 2 cents on politics. I'll give you the skinny on the life of a mariner, or a guy on a cruise ship, whatever you want to call it. I haven't forgotten about that segment, the Captain's Log. And don't worry, Ken, I'll keep you updated on my Hawaiian sensei's master, who's going to show me how to pull off that tri-strangle move on you. Alright, thank you so much, everyone. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Mixcloud, and the podcast, like I said earlier, is now available on Spotify, Google Podcast, Podcast Addict, and CastBox. This is your one-stop shop current events and politics podcast. If society's a joke, then we're just here for the first set. Wish me luck. I'll talk to you soon, you fucks. Thanks for listening to the Ready, Set Podcast. Check us out next week, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter and look for us on our YouTube channel, Ready, Set Podcast.